literature's like, yeah, llamas are great for protection and they bond with the goats. These motherfuckers didn't bond with the goats at all. They were on their own program. They're on their own program the whole time, and then they would escape. And so then we'd be running down our freaking neighbors' properties, chasing these damn llamas through the creek. Mature. You really shouldn't be gunning for the outcome. You want them, what you want is the quality. You want a quality person. To where that
100%.
quality person can tackle anything they're gunning for. But
I got 11-year-old picking locks right now. But if you can't figure it out from the PDF, then you're not capable of being in special operations. I know there's going to be a bunch of questions, so I'm going to encourage everybody to put your questions in the chat, and we'll bring Joel back, and we will ask all the questions in the chat. I'm going to tell you right now, this is going to be a fucking banger. It's a couple weeks ago, man, I had a kid that didn't want to take the swim test, and I had to straight go Navy SEAL on him, man. Like, I straight went Navy SEAL on him. I got a stick. I told him if he touched the side of the pool, I'm going to beat the shit out of him. Right? And I don't hit my kids, but like I was walking around the pool like a deranged lunatic. Mm-hmm. And then I took him and he passed the test. And I'm like, man, is this what it takes to get something out of him? And then it's like, well.
So we did that for a little while. I didn't want to do that long term, but so I ended up moving back to Virginia. And then I started contracting when I got to Virginia about a year later. So I did a couple other things, but I ended up ultimately, I was working for Triple Canopy for a couple years, and so I was still deploying a lot then. But I did like a year and a half at the embassy in Baghdad, and then I was working in East Africa in South Sudan after that. So yeah, I was still running and gunning a little bit, but the environment was a little bit different, and the pay was a lot better. But there again, I ended up kind of pulling the plug on that down the road, not because of the company I worked for. I actually loved that. I love the guys. I loved it. It was a fun job, man. It's cool. It's a lot of time overseas. It's even more than the military. So that was a really fun job. And I love the dudes. It's a pretty good organization. However, we were supporting in Africa, you're supporting State Department primarily, which is, and some other things in there, but it's tends to not be the best. There's a lot of like BS that goes with that. But then in Africa, we were there technically supporting State Department, but USAID was the main show there. So most of what we were doing was really kind of supporting USAID, which was the most ate-up organization I've ever seen in my life. And they had us doing just retarded shit over there. And that wore on me again. So I ended up kind of pulling the plug on that for the same reason, not because of my organization, but because of the organization that my organization has to deal with and work with. And so, and the things that I end up having to kind of put my life on, my guy's life on the line for, is I have a hard time squaring it a lot of the time. It just doesn't make sense, And so, I ended up pulling the plug on that one too, for similar reasons. And then I finally came home. That was, 7 years ago now.
Dude, for a while.
Yeah, a couple of years.
And now you're just full-time dad and at homeschooling.
Yeah. So
where's your oldest kid going? Is your oldest kid going to college? What are they doing?
Oldest kid just graduated. Yeah, not going to college yet. So both I have one who's graduating, one who just graduated, and one who is graduating shortly or next year. And they're both kind of interested in doing the entrepreneurial thing. My oldest daughter wants to start her own business. My son he's been doing goat herding for a couple of years. He got a little herd of goats that he manages, and he wants to basically start like a farm, like a clearance service, basically like travel around, and basically he wants to live in a van and travel around and like graze goats on people's lands.
Tell him to get the government contracts, bro. So I got a good friend that has a bunch of goats, and in Washington State, like on the West Coast, it's awesome because the West Coast all nuts and buried up, but the government contracts are where it's at. I got 3 goats. 2 of them were in a pen with this miniature Angus, and they don't eat bushes very well. The bully goat we got, he eat all the bushes. But the other 2 goats, they kind of like, they nibble at some shit. But they're not full-blown savage goats like I had when I was a kid at my uncle's house, who literally, you let them out, they ate fucking everything.
That's what he's working. So he spent the last year basically like training and conditioning this whole herd as brush goats. Basically, they're up in the woods. They live in the woods for the most part. They do get some like hay in the winter, but he rotates them around and everything. And he's basically trying to condition them because there's a whole like chemical component to that too, like how they digest. They actually have to kind of like be physically conditioned for that.
Yep.
To do that effectively, or it could fuck them up. So he's been doing that for like a year, getting them on it to where he can just throw them in a trailer and take them somewhere and they'll eat everything.
Does he have some dogs? Does he have dogs out there with him, or is he
We got one
like,
dog, yeah.
what's the predator control?
So we have a hard fence area for them, and he does rotate them back through there. We have the dog. The dog honestly has done pretty well. We haven't had any problems with him. The predators in our area are primarily the chickens are really like the main targets. So we got some foxes and we get coyotes in there. The coyotes have not really messed with the goats at all. I don't know if that's probably the dog primarily. We did have llamas initially when we got the herd. He got 2 llamas for that purpose. And he's trying to like learn this stuff on the fly, and like that the literature is like, yeah, llamas are great for protection and they bond with the goats. These motherfuckers didn't bond with the goats at all. They were on their own program. They're on their own program the whole time, and then they would escape. And so then we'd be running down our freaking neighbors' properties, chasing these damn llamas through the creek. And so eventually you're like, get rid of them. Like, they're not doing anything with these. So we ended up getting rid of those. But yeah, we haven't really had any predator problems. I think it's probably the dog is sufficient for what we've had.
Awesome, brother. I know.
Education and training and like raising kids piece is a big one for me. That's why I ended up reaching out to you, because I know that's like you're coaching and stuff like that. You're doing a lot of that work, with the young guys towards pipelines. And that's something that's, at the moment, I don't have any of my kids, like my own kids. I did teach for a while at a school. I actually helped start a school, and some of the kids from that did. And one of my guys from that ended up joining the Marine Corps. He's gunning for like a recon slot, but none of my actual children at this point are really considering the military, or the ones who are old enough for that to be like a reasonable consideration. But I've always tried to sort of loop them in as much as possible to some of the elements that you get into with the selection process, with the training process, because it's so damn good and efficient at like preparing certain character trait skills, right? So it's easy to teach skills. If you want like tactical skills, you want to teach somebody to shoot, that ain't hard. There's a system for that. If you want to teach somebody demo or freaking tactical driving, none of those are hard. It's simple. It's not hard to teach skills. But the selections are the way they are in all the branches, because the skills you can train, but a lot of things you either can't train or you don't have time to train, right? So if I need somebody to be just like fire in the gut tough, this dude is going to get it done, and he can take a beating and he's still going to get it done. That ain't going to bother him. You can train that, but that takes time. It takes a lot of time. And so you don't have time on the front end. Like if you're selecting for something like a SEAL team or a Ranger platoon or any of these units, you can't put in you need that guy to have that. You need a system in place so you can identify that and kind of put him through the ringer and see if he's got it. But really, that's all you can do. With raising kids, with homeschooling kids, we're actually the ones in the position. If you're an educator or parent, or especially a homeschool parent, you're the guy. You're in the position, like, that's what you're putting in. You're putting in all those things that they don't have time to train or develop. They need them to be in place, and that happens prior to, which is where you are. So I'm the guy who's helping them develop those kinds of things. So I want my kids to have character traits of special operator, like kind of that math. You know what I mean? Whether they have any military inclination or not. I want them to be tough. I don't want them to be pussies. I want them to be tough. I want them to pay attention to detail. I want them to be competent and be able to like pick up skills effectively. I want them to be adaptable and creative. All these things, like, these are the things we're selecting for. And if you're a parent, like, you want your kid to be that kind of person, whatever they're trying to do. And I think a lot of people drive too hard towards a certain outcome. Like, I want these things, so I want my son to like be a special operator. I don't care if he is, that's cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't care, but I'm not going to like push him to that specifically. I do want to push him to where like he could if he wanted to. He's got the traits in place. Or my kid is a doctor or a lawyer, academic success. That's awesome, but there's like an outcome they're going for that. And really, if you're aware at all as a parent, if you're like mature, you really shouldn't be gunning for the outcome. You want them. What you want is the quality. You want a quality person, to where that 100%. That quality person can tackle anything that they're gunning for. They can get the outcome they're going for because they have the right qualities. Maybe that's academic excellence. Of course, you want that. Maybe that's like intestinal fortitude and grit. Of course, you want that. Maybe that's adaptability and creativity, outside the box thinking. All these things. Of course, you want that. But like, that's your job as a parent, a teacher, an educator, or trainer, like a coach. is to help them when they're in the developmental stage, develop that as much as they can. And
So
that's not as
it's in.
systematized. It's like harder to systematize that, you know? Well,
So it's interesting.
compared to some things like you're talking skill training or things like that. Like again, I
Skill
can teach you
training.
to shoot. I can put you through a PT program. I can get you in shape. But
I got 11-year-old picking locks right now. Got
love it.
11-year-old picking locks. Skill training is easy, right? Two things that are not easy: grit.
Mm-hmm.
I got. I'm not even gonna talk about it because I said I can't talk about my own kids, but sometimes you have people that naturally have it, and sometimes you don't.
Yes.
And so it's
Or there's a
interesting
much steeper
because
learning curve for certain personalities to develop
yes,
it.
it's interesting to me because I always remember, like, the really smart people always say, go find a lazy person to solve a problem. Because they're going to solve the problem the easiest way possible with the least amount of work. And so I have those problems, right? And what I found is if I work my kids every weekend for 2 hours, I have no problem. If I let them take a break for a month, we get into, we got sports going on, something like that. This last 2 weeks, we've been cutting trees for a whole week, man. 4 or 5 hours a day, running a chainsaw, cutting trees, just like when I was a kid. There was a lot of work done. A lot of work done. I had to step back and say, okay, I need to develop a person, right? And so then it was like, okay, I had to think about how am I going to do this? And so then I thought about it, and everything we've tried hasn't necessarily worked. So, okay, I'm going to put that motherfucker in charge now. Your job is to manage those 2 dudes and get all this shit done, and I'm going to see if that works. The other one that I'll tell you that was phenomenal for me as a kid, man, my dad didn't help me fucking at all. That motherfucker was like, hey, go change the brakes in the car.
Yep.
I'm like, hey, man, what? I took the whole fucking wheel apart, all the way down to the axle. The right tire had all the way down to the axle. He comes out, he said, man, what are you doing, man? I said, I don't know, man. Like, I'm trying to put these brake pads in. I don't know. Like, I took this off. It didn't come off. I took that off. He's like, okay, put all that shit back together. I put the whole thing back together. He comes out. He's like, undo this bolt here, pull that out, go get a C-clamp. I went and got a C-clamp. Fucking taught me how to crank it back. I was like, and I looked at him, but now I understand. So I'm a very impatient person, right? Incredibly. Kind of like when you were 18. And so for me now, like, I just have to walk away, man.
Yeah.
No,
100%.
I had a kid fucking with a gate, right? I just had to sit in the car and say kumbaya, right? Like 15 minutes later, he was still messing with the gate, and I wanted to drive. I was like, nope, just sit right here, man. Sit right here. And that's like, for me, that's the hardest part.
Yeah. Well, it's tricky when you excuse me, when you like are adding numbers in there, so I got that whole spread of boys. I got 4 boys right in a row, but I got 6 total. And so, you have the different personalities, like you said. And so like different lessons or different things you're doing, they just land totally different with each one. So like you said about if you want something done effectively, like find the lazy dude. So I won't name him, but one of my boys, he's like my MacGyver SME, for shit. If it's tech related, if it's mechanical, if I need something done, like, hey, fix this, figure this out. And especially stuff I don't know about, I could just hand it to him and be like, figure this out. Because he's that dude. He's like a whiz kid, like super smart. And he's got that mind, and he hates doing hard shit, And so, like, if we need something to be like creatively jerry rigged, whatever, to pull it off, like, I'm putting him in charge because he's gonna do that naturally. He's just gonna be like, shit, I want to do this the hard way. Like, I could probably rig this thing with this. I'll pull this off a lawnmower and tie this. He'll freaking do craziness. So they have their different little. It's when you have that dynamic, it is a lot like a team or a squad. Where, like, I got my oldest boy, who's like, he's kind of a slow mover, very like smart ranger, not strong ranger. He's very methodical. He's a fantastic leader. He's awesome at managing everybody. He's a little harder to kind of have to kick him in the ass a little bit harder to get him in gear. But he's like really good at overseeing stuff and like really on point with things, very methodical. And then I got this guy who's like, he's just going to worry about himself, but he's going to get it done like really fast and effectively. And then I got this guy who's a workhorse, and I can like put him anything and he'll just go all day, hot, sweaty, and like what's next? So you get that whole like dynamic breakdown that's kind of funny, but it works out well, and you have that same type of dynamic on a team. That's why I like comparing the two, because you do need a mishmash of like skills, and there's a positive and negative that go with those things. So you got the guy who doesn't want to do hard shit, who's really good at figuring out how to make stuff easy, and that you want that. That's like a good skill to have. You have the guy who is maybe like a little bit more morally questionable, who's really good at acquiring stuff, and he can figure out how to get it, And so there's like a bad side and a good side of these things. And so when you're talking about educating, you want to create, or raising kids, you're like creating the environment to try to maximize the development of these things, where you're encouraging and strengthening the positive aspects of that, and you're trying to kind of curtail or keep the negative aspects within bounds. You know what I mean? And how to do that effectively. And it is a lot of trial and error. That's what I mean when I say it's not very systematized. It's because it's so individualized. It's so different for each kid.
Absolutely.
And so you can't like apply this big giant process to everybody, and it's going to work exactly the same way.
And like for me, so I have a rock star for a wife, complete rock star. Okay, valedictorian, fucking just rock star. Okay, and I don't know if she got in trouble ever in her life. Right? I'm going to tell you, I didn't make it out of fucking kindergarten before I got in trouble. I got in trouble at 4. So I tell this story. This is fucking stupid. So I'm in Puyallup, Washington with my grandparents, and they enrolled me in Lutheran daycare at Lutheran church camp, right? They're Jewish, but whatever. So we're doing the Christmas play, and I had these wings on my back. Like there was the 4 bad kids. There's 3 bad kids. The 3 of us were angels.
Right. No lines.
And they had said, so I remember distinctly, they said, whatever you do, like don't do anything crazy. Just stand here. You're going to stand over there. You're the 3 angels, right? I remember we were in the middle of the presentation, and I was like, yo, I'm going to fly off this fucking stage. I took off running as fast as I could, and I dove off the stage, and I thought I was going to fly because I had wings. I was like 4. I was not 5. I was 4. And I remember, I don't even know where I landed. Some parent probably caught me.
Yeah.
And I remember we got home. My grandfather was like, he was so upset. But I was just like, I mean, shit, I had so much energy as a kid. And then my last name was Zweig. And so I always sat in the back of the class, and I would get distracted so easily. And then I would be causing problems. The first 3 grades, I was in a refrigerator box. Like my dad brought a refrigerator box to school to put me in because I was causing so much problems. Like I was in trouble from day one. So for me, like I had to stop asking my kids, like, did you get in trouble today? Right? Like they'd be like, oh, Dad, something bad happened. And so I had to tell myself, like, stop asking them something bad happened. Them motherfuckers ain't done nothing wrong. Like we got a 4th grader, the youngest kid. They ain't never been in fucking trouble. Right?
Right.
Like little stuff early, but like nothing even close to me. So I'm like, stop projecting, right? Stop projecting trouble. And so it's interesting for me because like all the stuff I was really good at, let me say it this way. All of the stuff that came natural to me doesn't necessarily come natural to them.
Right.
And I didn't have any siblings. I had a really older sister, like 13 years, but like they got 3 brothers and they're 22 months apart. Like in the beginning, we let them fight. Fuck it, just fight it out. But then it started to become a problem, right? Like shit started bleeding. Like, oh man, okay. So then my wife was like, this ain't good. So now we do family hugs. Like I did the old hold hands, walk around the house technique 2 days ago. It worked pretty good, right? Like every time you take a lap, say, I love you, Lewis, I love you. Like, and it worked pretty good. All of a sudden they weren't fighting them, but like you're saying, man, we're just trying to raise super successful adults. And I'm going to tell you my number one thing is they got to be able to communicate. Like my kids are going to they're going to introduce themselves. They don't like it. My oldest kid's a natural. My middle kid, when fired up, will do it. My youngest kid will do it. Right.
Right.
But like, I'm going to tell you, if you can just say hello in the future, you're going to be great. Like,
absolutely.
Your kids are homeschooled,
right.
But like I go into middle school, man, I'm shocked. Now, something neat just happened. Texas just passed a law, no more cell phones at school.
That's awesome.
Like automatic expulsion or some shit like that if you get caught. So they're like, I thought, like my son's is going into 8th grade. He don't have a phone yet. He has a phone that he uses, but he don't take it to school.
None of my kids have personal phones. I have a flip phone that's like the going at, like if you're going somewhere and you need to be able to reach, like this is the phone for that. But none of mine even have phones.
Yeah.
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 It's such a distraction, dude. It can be like that's the thing. Like it doesn't have to be, but the problem is it's so easy for it to be that just it's going to go that direction naturally. And so yeah, I think those places or organizations that with especially the younger kids, man, like if you're in school or you're doing this activity or that activity, it's got to be zero tolerance, man. Don't even try to fuck with it and try and get it right. It's just
Yep.
not gonna be able to pull it off. So the communication piece, that's part of why we did homeschooling. Like I said, I was homeschooled, my wife was as well. But the opportunities, there's a lot of opportunities that you get as a homeschooler, like to kind of fine tune or like heavy focus stuff, and you have the opportunity to do that as the educator parent. But a lot of this is why this relates to the topic we're talking about, because there's so much interesting overlap. Homeschooling allows a lot of opportunities for that, but it doesn't have to be homeschooling. For example, I'm sure you know the saying, like, what's the best way to learn something, right? How do you learn something the best? You teach it, right? So if you're doing something like Ranger School, how do you learn to do missions? How do you learn to brief missions? How do you learn to plan missions and execute missions? Here's the mission. You're going to get a class. I'll walk you through it and outline it for you, but here's the mission. Do it like that. Okay. Here's what you did wrong. Here's what you did right. Now do it again. Here's what you did wrong. Here's what you did right. Now do it again. Now tell him how to do it. You're handing off. Now you're the PL. Now you brief the mission to him. If you plan a mission, so you never execute the mission you plan, in Ranger School or anything like that. You plan the mission, you brief the mission, then you go out, then you switch, and there's a new PL coming in. He's got all the info. He was in the brief, but like now it's your mission. So that principle at play, like if you're going to be a leader in this kind of organization, you got to be able to plan things, which is like research. It's basically management, systems management. There's all these 1,000 things you got to be on top of, put them all together, make them work. Do the research and put all these things together. Then there's communication. You got to brief it. And the standard that's given at Ranger School all the time is if you're given a brief, you're a PL and you're briefing the mission, you should be able to pull the dumbass private who is not part of this unit, pull him in the room, let him listen to it, and he knows what needs to happen at the end. That's the standard. Like it shouldn't be esoteric at all. Like it needs to be clear, plain. Everybody's 100% clear on what their specific job is, what's happening when, all that. That's clarity. That's, and you do that by reps, by practice, right? And by also having the ability to like do it and have it go wrong, or you didn't do it well and now you failed and you take the hit for that. So when you're homeschooling, I incorporate this stuff a lot with the homeschooling, and I think that it's a good thing to incorporate with kids, whether they're homeschooled or not. But like, if you want your kid to do something, give them a mission, give them like a commander's intent. You know what I mean? So this is the project, you're building this, you're doing that, or something they want to do. Have them plan a mission. Have them like, all right, this is what you're going to do. Tell me how it's going to go, and have them like write a mission for it, write a task for it, a task order, and then brief it. When my kids are interested in stuff, man, one of them's really into coding. Like, I love this. I'm like, all right, research that coding language, and then you're going to give a brief, and you're going to like train the younger guys on it, like what you know. So you make them communicate it, you make them train it. They learn about stuff and then they're training it. Or they want to do something, they're creating like a here's how, and then they're bringing other people into it and communicating that as well. So you're helping them develop like those where that's not weird to them, or that's just how you do things. Is you figure out the system. Here's a way to do it that'll work really well and effectively, and I can figure that out, plan it out ahead of time, make sure I got all my bases covered. I can communicate it to someone else so I can get them involved, and we can do it together as a team, and then we can pull it off, and then we can evaluate it on the tail end and see, oh, this didn't work like we thought, or make adjustments and improve. And a lot of kids are used to so many things just being handed to them.
I mean, Google.
Here's the lesson, the curriculum. What do you need to know? Here it is. Let me hand it to you, tell it to you, memorize that, or freaking whatever, put it out on the test. Or it's this thing, here's how you do it. Here's this, let me do it for you. Here's this. So really what they need to be doing is taking ownership of that and developing the skills to manage it themselves, to do the research themselves, to do the tasks themselves, and be able to communicate it themselves. And the way you do that is you kind of have to push them through it a little bit, but they got to be running it. But again, it's like those aren't hard things to learn. Those are basic things to learn. And that when you're talking about classical education, you're talking about rhetoric. These things that people traditionally studied, a couple hundred years ago, you would learn rhetoric. All that is that. It's communication. Here's how to I need people to all be on the same page and understand my ideas. And so how to communicate that well, whether it's written, whether it's in a speech, and those are the skills that they're going to need regardless of their field to be successful, which is why that's a big part of why people go to college in the first place, or why certain jobs have a college requirement. I might require a degree for this job, and it can be any degree. It doesn't have to be relevant to the job. Why would I require that if it's not relevant? It's because if you graduate college, I know that at a minimum, you can follow basic instructions, you can follow a plan, and you can communicate well enough, like you're turning in papers that are understandable, and that's it. I know you know how to do research and communicate effectively. So that's the vetting mechanism, right? And so those are things people need that they're looking for, and they're not hard really to get into with your kids. You have amazing opportunities as a homeschooler to do that. But what I really want to I hope people like start getting more into is realizing like you don't need to have someone else do that for you. Even if your kid's not homeschooled or something like that, man. If you're a parent, dude, you can make your kid do that stuff. It's stuff they want to do.
How about just go outside, Joe?
Yeah.
How about just go outside? Like I tell people, so we got games and fucking all sorts of shit. We got 5 computers in the office, and I got a studio. And I knew I was losing when the 2 Honda 50s weren't getting rode. Right? Like if a boy has a motorcycle, or the bows weren't getting shot in the backyard, or the BB guns weren't getting shot in the backyard, I'm like, you're not gonna beat a tablet, right? Like a tablet 100%. You can't beat it. So like, like I got to we moved, and so I got to build a bow range in the backyard, right? Like I got all the room in the world. I just got to put it up in a tennis court. I got to get on it, but like we have a shooting range in the backyard on pellet guns, and so it's like if a motorcycle and a pellet gun and a bow and arrow ain't winning, then you got to make sure, like we're going swimming, right? Like, I talked about this a couple of weeks ago, man. I had a kid that didn't want to take the swim test, and I had to straight go Navy SEAL on him, man. Like I straight went Navy SEAL on him. I got a stick. I told him if he touched the side of the pool, I'm going to beat the shit out of him. Right? And I don't hit my kids, but like I was walking around the pool like a deranged lunatic. And then I took him and he passed the test. And I'm like, man, is this what it takes to get something out of him? And then it's like, well, but I had tried everything, man. Like to the point where last summer, I let him not take the test the whole summer. His brothers are playing on the slide. He wouldn't take the test. And I said, well, I'm not letting this shit happen this summer.
Right.
Like, you're either going to die or you're going to pass this test. Because I know this, you're the best swimmer in the family. You can pass the test.
Right.
You know what I mean? So.
You ever have your boys do archery tag?
Archery tag?
Yeah.
With what?
So archery tag, it's a bow and arrow, but the arrows don't have, the end of it is like a round foam thing. So it's basically, it's a real bow and real arrows, but they don't have a tip. They just have this round foam thing. So you put on like a paintball mask, and they do battles, like archery battles. It's super. I have a set, and every single day, my younger boys ask me like, "Dad, can we go out and do archery?" And I'm, yeah. Well, the deal is like, you have to put it away when you're done. It's so much fun, dude. And you'll get them out there every day because it's tactical, that they're like fighting each other and doing battles with bows and arrows. It's so fun.
Send me the link. Send me that shit. Text message. Because, see, listen, I'm going to tell you right now. BB gun wars, yes. Bottle rockets wars, yes. Apples. So in Washington State, we have this little crab apple thing. It's like probably 5 times the size of a cherry, right?
Yeah.
But they go in a wrist rocket like a mammoth jammer. No eye protection, just.
Oh, yeah.
And so, yeah, send it to me. I'll buy that right now, man. Well, can I shoot them out of? Can I shoot them out of any arrows? Like any bow?
Well, yeah. So you're technically supposed to use a certain draw weight cap. I think it's like 30 pounds. It's a pretty low draw weight. Like, listen, if your kids are familiar with archery and like archery, that's the thing for it. It's way more fun than paintball, or anything like that.
So here's what I would say. It's way more mechanically disadvantaged than paintball, right? Like, it's more rudimentary in the hunting skills than like paintball. So you're saying it's tag archery.
Archery
I
tag.
can't even wait for you to send it to me. Fuck that. Like,
it's
let me see.
So my little guys do it every day, almost every day. They ask me if they can do it, and I just, it's a lot of fun. But we've had whole battles, man. I've had teams of like 10 kids on each side with like other kids and kids from the school and stuff. And I've had like 10 middle schoolers on each side, and they got like covering concealment. They're doing little like maneuvers and stuff, and there's just these volleys of arrows going back and forth. It's so much fun.
These shits is $59 a piece, like for 8 of them.
Yeah,
I'm buying these right now. I'll send you a video, because I'm gonna tell you right now. So I got one militant kid, okay, one really militant kid. If I tell, oh man, oh yeah, I'm buying these right now. I'm buying these right now.
It's a good time. It's a good investment.
Now I'm gonna tell you this. I'm gonna have to tell you this. We ain't buying the bows. We're gonna be shooting these out of regular bows. I'm gonna have to see how. The good thing is, because I was gonna make them myself, but they got that big foam cup in front of the foam, so you ain't got to worry about. I can't shoot them out of a fucking. Yeah.
I'll tell you what the draw weight. Like if you got an actual, I've done a lot with my boys. Kind of like we're not wearing like face. There's no eye pro or anything. I have taken one of those shots like directly to the eye on full blast at a not very high draw weight, and that shit.
I'm gonna tell you, I'm a lot better than I was as a kid. Now we stole all the chemistry goggles in 6th grade, so we have a BB gun war with eye protection. 5 minutes into it, we threw them all off because they were all fogged up and they didn't work. And we fucking okay.
Yeah,
it's awesome, bro.
It's you might have a little guy crying a little bit, but
oh no, we don't worry about that. No. Well, actually, not a little guy won't cry. The little guy will be fine. Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm ordering these. This is gonna be. I'm gonna send you a video. This is. 100%. Oh yeah. All right, let me see if I can. All right, I'll order those.
So.
Yeah,
I've always well, never mind. I'll circle back to that.
I gotta order. So it comes in 8s, man. I gotta order. I need 4 arrows a piece.
Yeah.
I gotta order.
So when you set up the battle, man, you'll get they'll be all on the ground and stuff, shooting back and forth at you. You have a little enclosed area.
How many arrows do I need a kid? You're a ranger. How much ammo do I need a kid?
I got a big ass set because I was trying to set up battles. So I have like 10 bows, and I think I have like 100 arrows. Okay, but I got a whole set for doing because I was running battles at a school. But yeah, you can get away with less than that. But I would say probably you want to start with at least probably like 5 or 6 a piece at least. Because part of it is too, you're going to be running out into like the open to retrieve arrows on the ground. That's how you get your ammo back once you shot it. They're shooting.
Do you have quivers? Do they have a quiver for it? How are you?
We don't. They're just palming. They start with basically a palm, and they like kind of run to a fighting position, and they shoot their arrows, but then they got to run out to the open and like get arrows off the ground. Yeah.
Let's go. I'm setting this up. I'm ordering this right now. How long is it gonna take? I'm gonna pay the extra money to get it here tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, they're always trying to get into battles with me, too. It'd be like me against all the boys. So you're talking about trying to get them outside. If you need to get kids outside, guys outside, and they already know how to use a bow, hook them up. No, that was it, man. I just appreciate you having me on and let me tell the story and kind of, give some thoughts. But, like, especially connecting that in at the end there, connecting into, like, now what we're doing as parents, as educators, as coaches, with the young generation. The reason I really want to tie it into that is because I feel like guys from our communities, guys who have special operations experience, who've been through selections and have a lot of that background and training, I feel like we're actually uniquely suited for helping with the prior phase of that, not just prepping guys but the actual like upbringing and education that the younger generation across the board needs as far as developing these character traits, because we know what that looks like on the high end, and we're familiar with the systems by which they like train and sharpen those things. Right? So your average public school teacher who's like went to college and got a degree in education and now is teaching, they have a really narrow lane. The lane is very narrow, and it's usually, and a lot of coaches have this too. It's like a narrow lane it's very sport specific. Okay. So you're going to get some of that with specific sports. You're going to get some physical elements, some grit, some mental elements in there. But as far as like that really holistic development of character traits and skill sets that we're good, that we want for our kids as parents, and that we're trying to help the younger generation develop, it's very multifaceted. And putting a kid through a PT program isn't going to be enough to get them to be the kind of person they need to be, nor is like putting through a really rigorous academic piece. All these things are like elements to it, but you want them to be a certain kind of person. That there's a lot that goes into that, that's multifaceted. So guys who come from a very high end, multifaceted organization like we have, I feel like we have a lot to offer on that front. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would love to see more. So the school I helped set up, I was I had a daily PT program it was a boys' school. We were doing daily PT. We were doing sports. We also had a combat program, like a boxing program. And Sean Glass, he's a Navy SEAL veteran. He goes to the same church as we do. So he helped set up a boxing program. So all the boys were doing boxing with him as a boxing coach. But we were doing other stuff too. We had like special skill sessions. So they're also doing, and that was everything from like, we did some land nav stuff, some like basic mission planning things, but it wasn't like military really oriented. We were doing things like tire changes and freaking basic auto mechanic stuff. And we were trying to hook these guys. We had it set up where, the older guys, the juniors and seniors, were getting hooked up into essentially like apprenticeships with tradesmen. So they're doing building, and it's all pointing towards really the multifaceted aspect of what we're trying to help these guys develop. It's not just academic. It's not just physical. It's not just trade related. It has to do with the whole person and all those different arenas that's going to be expressed in, and to help them develop that. My hope is, what I'm trying to do with my kids, homeschooling them, and I put them through like certain kinds of ringers and things, some of it that is more military specific. Like all my guys know how to like shoot and clear a room and things like that, like basic stuff. But again, I'm not trying to drive them to that. I just think that's good to know how to do, basic weapon skills. So they all know that. None of them are really trying to go in that direction. So I feel like that's something that guys in our community could really see a position for ourselves, especially veterans, especially fathers, to start to step into more. That's kind of think more broadly than just prepping guys to go to a special operations unit, or just doing like tactical training stuff. You're going to be a firearms instructor or do a tactical course when you get out, if you're a Ranger or SEAL. You can do more than that. There's more. The younger generation, that's helpful, but that's a piece. The younger generation needs more. And if you're in education or coaching at all, you know what I'm talking about. You've seen stuff. I had a whole class of high school boys. I had 20 high school boys, taking them to the gym. I put them up against the wall, and I was like, all right, we're going to start out with some like handstands. We're going to do some handstand, introduction to handstand push-ups. We're going to do like some negatives. You're just going to get on the wall, hold yourself up there, and we're going to like lower. Out of 20 guys, I had one of them that ended up going to the Marine Corps. I had one of them who could even get up on the wall. And they were like, couldn't figure out how to kick their feet up. And I'm standing there baffled. I'm like, the hell's wrong with you guys? Get your feet on the wall. And they're like kicking and like, I can't get it up. I'm like, dude, it's like a somersault. You're doing a somersault. Just do a somersault and kick your feet up there. These guys said, I've never done a somersault. None of you guys ever done a somersault? That's what I got 20 guys, and none of them had ever even done a somersault, much less a handstand. And I'm like, oh.
I got a kid, couldn't do a push-up. Okay. I got a couple kids. I got one kid right now doing 9 pull-ups. But we working out every morning. We got the 15 minutes of fire, right? Mm-hmm. Big workout. I got a 4th grader, 6th grader, and an 8th grader. And it's a 15-minute workout. It normally is about 25 minutes. They don't know that, right? Like the oldest one does, but he don't say that. He's the one that wanted to work out.
Yeah.
And we've been working out for 2 months now. We're starting to see some results. So everybody can do pull-ups now. My push-up kid don't have no problems doing push-ups no more. But it's like you're saying, man, we're trying to build the whole person. I don't know what my kids are going to go do. I know my kids are going to be successful. Like, that's my barometer. We already, like, I tell everybody, like, if your kid ain't seeing success in 4th grade, it's the old NFL adage. If you didn't do it in college, you ain't going to do it in the NFL. I kind of step back. I'm like, okay, what did my kids do this year? What they win? How well did they do it, right? Like, I got one kid that's big in the band, man. He won first chair. Okay, he winning. That's all I care about. I don't care what he's winning in. He's doing well. we struggled. We had an area of difficulty this year, and we're going to work on it and get it done. And, and then the younger two are killing it. Same thing, man. Like, I don't know what they're going to go do. I don't know, but we'll raise them successfully. I know my kids going to be able to talk. They ain't going to be like these fucking mutes that we're raising with phones that, can't say hello. Like, oh.
Dude, I had an impromptu like hip pocket training session with these high school guys. It just like came about by accident. We're talking about, I was kind of like teasing one of them or joking about, him like getting embarrassed talking to a girl or something. Found out like these are like freshmen and sophomores, and none of these guys had ever even really talked to a girl in real life. They're like texting and stuff, and they're like they're super nervous. They're like, how do you even do it? And I'm like, listen, man, I dated one woman in my life. That's my wife, and married her. I've known her. I'm not like a player. Do a little like 15-minute class on like, how do you actually talk to a woman?
So
because they didn't know, they'd never done it. And I'm like, I'm no subject matter expert here, but I was like, first of all, they're not unicorns or they're not mythical creatures. They're people. They're like you. And so the things that apply to normal people apply to girls, So if you're not creepy, you just go and talk to them. Don't be creepy. Be a little bit funny. They're like locked on listening. Like, how do you do it? Like it's a mystery of the universe. And I'm like, you just have
we
to
have
do it,
we have a whole game school. So a quarterback from Washington State has his best friend's an Army guy, had 3 deployments, was down on his luck, man, got divorced. And so my boy Paul went and got Enzo. So they grew up in Spokane, but went and got Enzo. So they live in San Antonio with me. So for the last 18 months, Paul been putting him through just like success school, right? Like Enzo was down, came from a social disadvantaged family, didn't know how to get ahead, didn't know how to live this life of abundance. So we started West Coast Vikings Lifestyle, which is those 2 goons. And then I started game school, and it's all in the same package. But like our first whole level 1 is just talking to females. Hello, my name is Jake, and How you doing? Hey, I saw you. I'm in the grocery store. Where? Grocery store. Everyday travels, right? Mm-hmm. The other 2 guys, they like the club. Not the club, but they go to this place to meet women and stuff. I never had no luck ever in the bars or anything like that. But like to your point, all we got to do is say, hey, my name's Jake. What's up? Or I just like, hey, how you doing? What's your name? Right? Like, hey, what's your name? How you doing today? Can I have your phone number? That's it, right? Mm-hmm. It's crazy because I got a bunch of, I think, everybody, 2 kids are in college, 1 kid's a little bit older in there. We got a whole group, and it's always amazing when they're like, I was so nervous just saying hello.
Right. Like, yeah, you got to demystify a lot of stuff that's like doing a cartwheel, like, how does one accomplish this thing? I'm like, I'm not talking about a 1-arm pull-up or a freaking muscle-up here. This is a damn cartwheel, It's like demystifying stuff that you would think would be bad, especially for, the guys of our generation, or it's like a lot of shit I don't even think about. Like, oh, you need to like be shown that, but it's not intuitive necessarily. That's to my point, is that we're seeing things with the younger generation now that like they are potentially more serious than a lot of people realize.
Yep.
Physically, psychologically, and otherwise. Yep. So guys from our community who are like, we're very experienced and equipped for that kind of holistic addressing, helping develop people in a lot of different areas, because you need that, especially in those communities. It's unique because in a lot of communities, a lot of jobs, you actually don't need that. It's okay if you're just good at your job or you're just good at this one thing, and like nobody has to really deal with your personal life or anything. Like, that's okay. You can be.
But life ain't like that. Life ain't like that.
Right. But it's become like problematic. It's become like a pattern of life almost with generationally now, where it's like, that's not sustainable. It doesn't have to be like, we know it's not hard to like take it out of that realm, but people need to be thinking along those lines, and that's kind of my hope, is that the guys who are already in the chute, who would listen to you or listen to me, are interested in that kind of thing. They're probably a little bit further along on that awareness process, whether they're necessarily planning on pursuing a special operations career or not. But they're at least like somewhat aware of the character traits and things that go into that a little bit.
And I'm going to tell you the other thing. I just ran into today, 14-year-old. I want to be a Navy SEAL. It's my dream. I've been working out 2 times a day. Great. Are you wrestling? No. My mom and dad said I can't wrestle because I'll get mat herpes. Okay, what else can I do? That's what he says to me. What else can I do? I said, go wrestle, right? Go wrestle. Well, I need something else. There is nothing else you can do. Go wrestle.
Right.
My parents won't let me. I said, well, then your parents aren't going to let you be a Navy SEAL.
Yeah.
Figure it out. You're 14 years old. Because I thought about it from my perspective. As much as I don't want my kids playing football, okay? As much as I don't want them playing football. One of my kids comes in here and says, I'm playing football. I'm not going to tell him no. Mm-hmm. Right? Now, if he says I'm going to skydive at fucking 14, we're going to have a conversation. Now, we're going to wait a little bit, right? Mm-hmm. Like, but you want to go play football in middle school? I can't tell, like, I just can't tell him no, right? Like, there's some things you can do, but like, my son want to go wrestle, but there's so much helicoptering going on right now.
Yeah.
They're fucking murdering it. And it's getting to portions because they want a helicopter, but then they want the results of a good kid. And the two don't go together.
That's what I'm talking about. That's a big part of the problem I'm talking about. It's easy to pick one thing or another. In my view, it's not. It's a lot of things. So a lot of people kind of hone in on screens, the screen time. And I agree. Like I think that's an element that does have an effect. I don't think that's all it is though, but the helicopter situation, that's a big one. That's a real one. I've seen that, in play with parents of kids I've been working with and things like, and it's something I have a pretty good sociopath streak myself where I'm like, generally I'm good with authority, man. I'm not a chronic rule breaker. I'm not trying to bend the rules all the time. I wasn't like you. I wasn't getting into trouble all the time. However,
I don't follow no rules.
If I don't feel like there's a good reason for it, or if I also don't, I'm happy to break the rules if it doesn't make sense to me, or I feel like there's a good reason to. And I've done that plenty, like some of that kind of like sociopath, I'll figure out a way. If it needs to be done, I'll figure out a way to get it done, and I'll do it however it needs to happen. You want that with your kids to, well, maybe not the sociopath part, but to some degree, like you telling a 14-year-old, he's like, oh, I can't do this. And you're like, but you can. There's a way. And what you actually need to learn to do is figure out how to get that way, So maybe there's diplomacy in there. Maybe there's some bargaining. Maybe it's a little more nefarious, and you're like, I just signed up. Sorry, I'm already on the team. You're gonna have to call. I don't know what it is.
But see, like, here's my thing. There's a way.
You're just gonna have to find it. It's gonna take work.
Here's what I've learned, Joe. I'm talking to a 14-year-old. Okay, it's not my job to raise him. Okay, it's not my job. If his parents want him to suck and not achieve his goal in life, that's not my problem. Okay, my problem is helping people that want to succeed. Right. And it's not my problem. Like, I'm not talking to his parents. Like, normally, like, I talk to him. I at some point, like, I get his parents on the phone because he's 14, right? He's going to be a freshman in high school. But, like, I'm just like, look, I'm not raising other people's kids. I raise my kids. And I'm not trying to say I got the answers to raising kids either. I just know this. I'm not raising 14-year-olds, right? Mm-hmm. I don't raise that. One of the things that's made us so successful, we don't fucking hold nobody's dick while they peeing. Not one fucking person. Here's the program. Here's the PDF. The PDF is fucking bulletproof. The Army PDF is bulletproof and the Navy PDF is bulletproof. Okay? Here's the PDF. If you got problems, jump into Discord. We got 15 motherfuckers that have been there, done that. They in Discord. They'll help you out if you got a problem. But if you can't figure it out from the PDF, then you're not capable of being in special operations. Like, if I give you a sheet of directions and the whole goal is to get you in phenomenal world-class condition, then you can't follow it and you can't figure it out and you can't get it done, you're not capable mentally and emotionally, then you're not going to make it in special operations. And they hate that, right? Like, I've been on the PDF for 6 months. Okay, what's it say at the top of the PDF? If you're on the PDF for more than 4 months, you shouldn't be talking about going in this community. Because that means you started so poorly in the base, you don't have any grit, you don't have the stuff you need. I got a wrestler right now. It'll take him 6 weeks before he's ready to go. Wrestled in college, 6 weeks of hard fucking grinding. At most, it'll take him fucking 10 weeks. At most. And he will go out there and shit stomp any selection he goes to. Well, why is that? He grew up with a lot of grit. Wrestling is a figure it out sport. Shit ain't fair in wrestling, just like life. So, all right, man. Well, shit, let's do this. I know there's going to be a bunch of questions. So I'm going to encourage everybody to put your questions in the chat. And we'll bring Joel back and we will ask all the questions in the chat. I'm going to tell you right now, this is going to be a fucking banger. It's 4 hours long now. So I'm going to chop it up into we'll probably chop it up into like 5 sections, 6 sections, roll it out over a couple weeks. I appreciate it, man.